One of the first widely published accounts of what could be considered a Bigfoot encounter was written by none other than President Theodore Roosevelt in his 1892 book, The Wilderness Hunter. Roosevelt was an avid frontiersman and a hunter who traversed the wild American West. In his travels, Roosevelt was told the story of two trappers who had a deadly encounter with an unknown beast which left enormous human foot tracks in its wake in the wild 19th century alpine terrain of the Bitterroot Mountains along the Idaho and Montana border. Roosevelt describes the terrifying encounter of a frontiersman called Ballman, who was allegedly out with a partner at an isolated area of Montana's Wisdom River to engage in some animal trapping. The two men made a makeshift camp and went out to set traps. They were surprised to find that during their absence, something apparently had visited their camp and not only had ripped through their backpacks, but also rummaged through their belongings and destroyed their lean-to shelter. The mysterious creature that had ransacked their camp had also left a series of bizarre footprints all around the camp that seemed to be walking upright on 2 feet. The men, not thinking much of the footprints, decided to stay and merely rebuilt the lean-to and fixed up the camp. Later that night, Ballman supposedly was awoken by something crashing through the brush and an oppressive foul stink. Bowman grabbed his rifle and shot out into the night, after which the creature reportedly scampered off. The following morning, they hiked out to look at the few traps they had set the previous evening. They eventually returned to camp towards the evening. On nearing it, they saw heartily to their astonishment that the lean-to shelter had again been torn down. The visitor of the preceding day had returned, and yet again ripped through their backpacks and rummaged through their belongings. The ground was again marked up by its tracks, and upon leaving the camp, the creature had gone along the soft earth by the brook. The footprints were as plain as if on snow, and, after careful scrutiny of the trail, it certainly did seem as if whatever this thing was, it had walked off on 2 legs. The men kept up a roaring fire throughout the night, one or the other sitting on guard most of the time. Around midnight, the creature came down through the forest and stayed there on the hillside for nearly an hour. They could hear the branches crackle as it moved about, and several times it uttered a harsh and unpleasant, long-drawn, sinister-sounding moan. The following morning, the men made preparations to leave, deciding that they have had enough of the strange, unexplained happenings. Ballman volunteered gathering up their traps while his companion went ahead to pack up camp and prepare to leave. Ballman took several hours in gathering and securing all the traps they had set the previous day. When he finally started homewards, he marked with some uneasiness how low the sun was getting. As he hurried toward camp, under the tall trees, the silence and desolation of the forest weighed in on him. At last he came to the edge of the little glade where the camp lay and shouted as he approached it, but got no answer. The campfire had gone out. Near it lay the packs wrapped and arranged. Stepping forward, he again shouted, and as he did so his eyes fell upon the body of his friend, stretched out beside the trunk of a great fallen spruce. Rushing toward it, the horrified trapper found that the body was still warm, but that the neck was broken. The footprints of the unknown beast creature, printed deep in the soft soil, told the whole story. The unfortunate man, having finished his packing, had sat down on the spruce log with his face to the fire and his back to the dense woods to wait for his companion. While waiting, his monstrous assailant, which must have been lurking in the woods, waiting for a chance to catch one of the adventurers unprepared, came silently up from behind, walking with long, noiseless steps and seemingly still on two legs. Evidently unheard, it reached the man and broke his neck by wrenching his head back with his hand, and then fled back into the soundless depths of the woods. Ballman abandoned everything but his rifle and struck off at speed down the pass, not halting until he reached the beaver meadows where the hobbled ponies were still grazing. Mounting, he rode onward through the night until beyond reach of pursuit. Don't forget to watch, like, and share Bigfoot in the Forest on all your social media. And don't forget, Bigfoot's on Etsy, YouTube,